Hi, I'm Louise, and this is the Pilates for Busy People weekly show. This week, as it's Mental Health Awareness Week, I talked to Michelle about her diagnosis of depression after the birth of her daughter and how exercise played a part in her recovery. But before we get into the show, one of the biggest problems most people have with fitting exercise into their lives is time. We know the effects of exercise and how great it can make us feel, but it's the thing we do less of. My 10-minute Pilates online membership is easy to fit into your day, at your convenience and in the comfort of your own home. It has videos of 10 minutes long of all levels, so you can pick and choose as to how your body feels. It's great for body and mind, so do check it out in the link below. So let's get on with the show. Hi, and welcome to this week's Pilates for Busy People weekly show. This week I have Michelle Reeves with me. And Michelle, tell us about yourself, a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a certified life and mindset coach. I am also the author of The Happiness Habits Transformation, and I run a Facebook group that you're part of, which is lovely to have you in, called the Ideal Life Club, and I'm also the host of the Ideal Life Club podcast.
Lots of things going on, Michelle.
Lots of things going on in my world.
So I've got you on because this week is Mental Health Awareness Week, and I know that you've been through sort of a few issues. I was going to say it's not really the right word, is it? But I wonder if you could tell us about your experience and what has happened to you.
Okay, yeah. So, well, about 10 years ago, I quit my job in corporate marketing, and my husband and I moved out to China for 4 years. We lived in Shanghai. And it's full of excitement. You know, we thought this was going to be the most amazing adventure, and it absolutely was. But while we were out there, you know, fast forward about 2 years while we were out there, and I was suddenly completely unrecognizable to myself in the grips of postnatal depression. So I had my daughter in Shanghai, and she was premature.
Right.
And I suffered very severe postnatal depression afterwards, and went from sort of being, you know, in corporate life, running teams, managing agencies, managing a big budget, to really struggling to get out of bed in the morning. And so it was a huge blow and a huge shock. But I found, I went into therapy for a while, and then I found a way back to me, to the woman I was before. And really that's the subject of my book. That's what I've written about in my book, and to help other women who might be struggling as well, because you don't have to have gone through a diagnosis of depression to know that there's something not quite right in your life.
No, and I appreciate that. And actually being far away from home and family and friends was probably compounded it all as well.
Yeah, I'm sure it had a big influence. I didn't have the support there. I mean, the team in our expat community was fantastic, but I didn't have quite as much support as we have back here, thankfully, from organisations like Mind and Pandas UK. So I'm sure that did contribute. So yeah, it was a challenging time.
No, and well, I say I can imagine. I can't. I know what it's like to have a young baby, but I've never experienced, you know, that absolute feeling of not being able to get out of bed in the morning, and I can't imagine that. So this year's Mental Health Awareness Week is all about body image, and did that play a part in how you were feeling as well?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it did play a part, actually. I was really active before I became a mum. My husband and I we had a personal trainer, and we used to go training every week. I actually met him through exercise in an exercise class. That's how we met, which is always a fantastic story. I'll tell you more details outside of this.
I think I've probably got a similar one.
So I was always really, really active, but then, you know, existing on only a couple of hours sleep, because the situation I was in with my daughter was that I had to feed her every 2 to 3 hours, 24 hours a day for a period of time, because she was premature and her stomach was very, very small. So existing on that small amount of sleep, and also depression has a way of robbing you of energy and of making you forget the things you enjoy.
Yeah.
So it just all seemed too overwhelming to cope with living and looking after this poor human, and also then starting to exercise all over again. So yeah, it was all too much. But I think yeah, definitely that obviously had an effect on the way I felt in my body and
Yeah.
the way that I felt I looked. You know, I don't think I have body dysmorphia, but depression does have a way of making you see yourself very differently to the way other people see you. So yeah, I definitely agree with that.
And once you'd had your diagnosis, was that the catalyst for your change, and why? What made you sort of get that momentum to get out of your depression, or
Yeah,
something
well, it
like
wasn't instant. I
no?
can tell you
No.
that. It
Yeah.
was not instant by any means. I had therapy for a period of time. I had cognitive behavioral therapy, and part of that therapy was writing therapy. So I did a lot of writing about how I was feeling, and that actually turned and became a blog.
Oh, wow.
And so part of the momentum was sharing my story. I went on to win awards for the blog. And I think that sort of seeing that I wasn't alone was a great catalyst for helping me to move forward, but also, you know, wanting to be the best mum I could for my daughter. And also I think honoring myself and my passions.
Yeah.
You know, trying to get back to the woman I was before. I knew that I'd been in that place. I knew
Yeah.
I'd been successful and confident and happy. So I kind of thought there must be a way back to it. I don't think therapy did that for me. Therapy, I will constantly and forever be grateful for the therapy I had. But I think I always say that the therapy got me from non-functioning, so
Yeah.
really struggling to get out of bed,
Yeah.
to functioning. So I was kind of existing and living, but I wasn't thriving. And it took my own sort of journey of personal development really to get back to that place.
Yeah. And so did exercise have an impact on that? Were you able to, I mean, the biggest thing, especially when you're a new mum, is finding the time to exercise. But
Right.
I know, even, you know, I've never been in deep depression, but I know when I've had enough and I go out for a run or something that I feel great. And so we know the science behind it all. So did you manage to get exercise into that sort of transformation that you had?
Yes, absolutely. It was a big part of my mental well-being actually.
Yeah.
It's one of my 8 happiness habits that I write about in the book.
I'm going to ask you about that in a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's right in there. It's habit number 4, which is all about making moving your body daily your stress solution without having to join the gym.
Yeah.
So Aline, you have to join a gym
No,
to be able
I'm
to.
with you on that one.
Yeah. So things like, you know, dancing with Amelia to try and get her to sleep. You know, moving, swaying, doing fun stuff with her, maybe going for a swim if I could get, you know, some time away. And you know, we all know it keeps us healthy and it releases those great feel good endorphins, and that was fantastic because it was like a natural mood enhancer, which was great. And I think also just it was a commitment to myself to take time out for me. So as well as the healthy side of it also was me committing to taking some time out away from being a mum just for a short period of time to just do something for myself. And I think we often forget that side of exercise. It's, you know, it's doing something for you, which is so important.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be, I mean, like you say, go for a run, but you could almost go for a walk as well, couldn't you? It doesn't
Oh,
have to be.
totally.
And one of the most important things you just said there, which I bang on about all the time, is to move daily. And it
Yeah.
is so important. You know, I tend to sit a lot more than I used to, even though I'm teaching, and I hate it. So even I feel that. So just getting up and getting that movement going is really, really important.
I agree, and I think as I'm getting older, I mean, I'm 46 now. I'm not ashamed to say it, and you know, but as you get older, you know, things just don't start working quite as well as they did.
Well, not
And
early in the
I know,
morning. Yeah.
not early in the morning, and you know, I absolutely swear by getting up early and doing, you know, yoga in the morning just to kind of stretch everything out.
Or Pilates.
Or Pilates, absolutely. I do a bit of both. And I'm like you, sitting at my desk a lot of the time. I'm coaching my clients wherever they are in the world using Zoom as we are today. So I find I'm sitting down a lot as well. And I really notice how that closes my hips.
Yeah.
And, you know, affects my muscles in my back and stomach. So I've actually just bought myself a standing desk converter.
Oh, that's a whole
So I'm going
nother
to be standing up.
They are
Yeah.
amazing. They are absolutely amazing. And actually, I would like one. So I'll
Yeah,
have,
well, like, you can get converters for your desk, so it's not actually a standing desk because
yeah.
they are crazy money, but you can buy sort of converters. So I'm going to give that a go.
Oh, I'd
Try working standing up and see
be
how that.
interested to
I'll let
see
you
how
know.
that goes, definitely. But
Yeah.
the other point, just before we move on, that you also said that is you did things with your daughter. And I think people sort of, you might not be exercising to the ability that you want to do, but actually it again is really important because you can move with your children and have a bit of fun, and it
Yeah,
brings,
we used to walk with the pram. I used to do long walks in Shanghai, pushing the pram, and getting her
yeah,
to sleep. Even just while she was sleeping, I would just walk and walk and walk and listen to music or podcasts, inspiring podcasts, personal development books, whatever it was. I would just shove them on the headphones, get out there. And I started doing yoga and Pilates in China, actually.
oh, did you?
And yeah, I did. I had a lady that came to the house to help me. And as Amelia got older, we would kind of incorporate her in, because she was a weight.
Yeah. Yes.
So we would incorporate her into it in some way. So I would sometimes sort of squat while I was holding her as a natural weight and things like that.
Yeah.
It was a whole new world for me,
Yeah.
but great fun.
Yeah, and also it gives your children a thing about exercise. If they see you do it, ultimately it becomes a natural thing. So it's a brilliant thing. So you mentioned you'd written your book, The Happiness Habits Transformation. Sorry. Can you tell us a little bit about this and how you were able to stay motivated and positive as you went through your transformation?
Yeah, so I really wrote the book. It was sharing my journey, if you like, and the book does include part of my journey. It goes back to that time and walks a little bit through it. But really, the book is about sharing the 8 habits that
Yeah,
I found helped to bring me back to me. And so for me, it was, always people talking about, be more grateful, and or do gratitude practice, for example, or you've got to find your goals and your why, or it's important for you to do meditation and become aware of your thoughts. And I think all these are great practices, and they definitely form part of the habits that I used myself. But it wasn't until I created a simple daily routine around those
yeah,
habits that worked for me, that's when it really started to take off. Because I would pick up a habit and try it for a while, and I'd be very excited about it, and then I'd forget about it for a couple of days and I'd move on to something else. And I think we all do that so much.
yeah,
Habits form the whole of our lives, even if we don't realize it. Our lives are run by habits, and there's been huge amounts of research done about this. And I've been very lucky to share a lot of that research in the book from people that have done it, and people that have written about it, been very kind to let me share it. And so what the book does, it kind of, as well as kind of laying to rest a lot of those demons that I had from that time, I wanted to create a path that anybody could follow for their own transformation. Because that's really what the book's about. It's my story, but it's also about the reader's journey. So
yeah,
within the book, and it's really interesting when I've been doing book talks about this, in the book there are spaces, I've got a copy here next to me, there are spaces where people can write their own notes on how they're sort of going through. So it's like kind of like a space there where you can, I don't know if you can see that, but where you can write your
yeah.
notes. And it's really interesting because people have said to me, I can't write in the book. I write in books.
I
It's
know.
just so funny. We brought up like, don't deface a book, but no, it's very much meant to be a practical guide for people, so they can have write notes as they go along, make it work for them,
Yeah,
create their routine to boost their own self-esteem and help them dream and plan their biggest goals. And I think for me, the way that I stayed motivated through my transformation was setting those goals. So whether that was setting an exercise goal, I'm going to try and make sure I work out, maybe this week it's just going to be 10 minutes 3 times a week, and then I'm going to build that over time to 10 minutes 5 days a week, and then I
yeah,
might try and do a little bit more at the weekend or whatever it might be, but kind of setting those staging goals and doing that in all areas of my life as well, and setting myself goals for my personal development and what I was what I was going to do work wise. This is before I started my business as a life coach. So I'm a really big advocate of setting yourself goals and getting some help along the way as well, reaching out and asking for help to help you
yeah.
get there.
No, and I think that's I mean, it's fantastic because actually they don't have to be your goals that you've written, your 8 happiness points, do they? But
No.
to show what you can do, and making small, like you were saying, making small goals that you build on. And I think people always make too big a goals and then they don't achieve them. So even just making one and changing the habit, I think is fantastic. So we will put a link to your book below. Definitely.
Thank you.
So if anyone's interested in that, but that was great. That was brilliant, Michelle. Thank you so much for coming on and telling us about your experience. And I'm sure it will be very useful for other people out there. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been a pleasure being on today. Thanks, Louise.
I really hope you enjoyed the show today. Do check out Michelle's book. The link is below. Bringing good habits into our daily lives leads to less stress, which is only a good thing. If you have enjoyed this week's show, then make sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on next week's.